Insiders, welcome to Keeping It Real with Miss T, where we give you the real tea with a twist. I am super excited about my guest tonight. This guy is a former Atlanta jazz radio personality with a degree in radio, television broadcast, and mass communications. A former NCAA basketball collegiate athlete with ambition to be a professional athlete. However, life got in the way due to an injury. Oh, but this did not stop this dynamic male. Overcoming adversities, he is a self made millionaire who is a member of MDRT and top of the table. He is not, I repeat, he is not a salesperson of insurance. He is a business owner who offers insurance and financial services. This guy truly has a passion for people. He is the owner and founder of L.R. Johnson and Associates Incorporated, Ronco Johnson Foundation for Financial Literacy, located in Marietta. He knows a thing or two about wealth and keeping it in your backyard because he is a Marietta native, graduate of Georgia and Kennesaw State University. His professional and life resume are very impressive. Music producer, in 2012, became the first African American to be named 4 Under 40 by Advisory Today magazine. National motivational, inspirational keynote speaker who will have you smiling and eyes watering all at the same time. He is a community leader, mentor. If you ever heard of Georgia Magic professional basketball team, yes, owner and GM. He's a father of his beautiful, talented daughter, Amaya. He enjoys jazz music, traveling, sports, paying it forward through charitable organizations and industry associations. I tell you, this guy, I must introduce you because I can go on for days. My friend, Mr. Ronco Johnson, when the lights go out, are you ready? Welcome, 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 Ronco.
Well, that is one, man, thank you so much, T. That was one incredible introduction.
Well,
I'm humbled.
You, as you
I'm
should.
humbled.
Hey, that's not even a long. That's just a short list of who you are and where I've, seen you come from. When I first met you in 2008 or 9 at I want to say it's the Harlem Nights.
Harlem Nights.
Yeah, Ultra Lounge and on Cortlandt Street, downtown Atlanta.
That's right. We were doing actually, we were actually shooting for this album at Harlem Nights that you just played. Shout out to Joey Somerville and the Get Down Club, Miriam Meadows. That song you're playing called Swag.
Oh yeah.
It went number 11 on the smooth jazz charts. That was a phenomenal time.
Absolutely. It was a great time, great people, oh my goodness, Joy Somerville is a phenomenal artist. So guys, definitely check out Joy Somerville and all of his work. So hopefully he'll be listening out there and you can support him as well as Ronco. But man, yeah, that was great. Right at the time, I was a writer, editor for Chronicle News newspaper when we were still doing newspaper. I don't even know if people still too much.
What is that? Newspaper?
Newspaper? Wow, wow, wow. So, Ronco, we're going to get in and talk about when the lights go out. But before we do so, kind of share with the listeners about L.R. Johnson and Associates.
Well, that's interesting. Well, L.R. Johnson and Associates, we're an insurance and financial service consulting firm based out of Marietta, Georgia. And we are a national firm. And our practice has been over the years is minimizing, helping wealthy individuals minimize their tax liabilities using insurance and financial service products and services. And over the years, since we probably talked about it, we've morphed into more of a lifestyle-focused planning firm. And lifestyle-focused planning, we'll get into that a little bit more as we talk today. But I think it is, it rings true to the situations where we are in the world right now. Most people, when they plan for their lifestyle, they kind of know where you want to go. And not everyone's lifestyle is the same. Some people might want to live on a boat. Some people want to live in an RV, and some are just good where they are. So in that planning, we've been able to help many, many people figure out what they want to do when they grow up.
When they grow up, huh?
That's
And some
right.
are still growing. No matter the age, they're still growing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. So now let's get into when the lights go out, when you're ready. Because I'll tell you, back in 2008, 9, when this was first introduced to me by you, I was blown because you asked, that's like your leading question. When the lights go out, are you ready? And I was like, what do you mean? And to say that, I was like, oh, wow, you're speaking from that aspect. And being a person with a background of planning, I was like, yeah, I plan. But then you hit me hard, buddy. You were like, no, but are you planning? Are you planning for your life? When those lights go out, truly, do you know what's next? So, share with the listeners what you mean by when the lights go out, are you ready? And why is it still relevant today and moving forward?
Thanks, Ty, for asking that question. When the lights go out, are you ready? And the first time I talked about it, there were people who said, "Man, I don't understand that. That isn't
Yeah.
it's gloom and doom and what have you." But the truth is, when the lights go out, are you ready? Is a program and that has morphed into a program. We've taken it all over the United States nationally, toured internationally, speaking on that. So we've framed it in speaking events. We've framed it in classes. We've framed it for radio and television shows and programs, and hopefully we get this book done. So the book will be out, and it has legs of its own. It's its own brand in itself. But what we focus on when the lights go out, are you ready? We would highlight things that are happening in our communities and things that are happening with well-known people, and try to help the mass audience see things a different way, and where there's a parity to their financial plan in those stories that they may not have known existed. So, so we would be able to discuss some very complex financial planning strategies that we use in the industry,
Hmm.
but we will use it based on what you saw in media. As an example, we got a lot of things going on right now with our economy, and a lot of things going on with our president, and a lot of things going on, in our culture. So
Hmm.
we're able to use those examples to say, hey, did you know that this and this and this ties to this financial strategy, this financial concept? And if you put those things together, you'll start to see them work, and you can better your lifestyle. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Absolutely.
So
So is this a concept that's relatively new, you would say?
the lifestyle focused planning part of it is probably is newer, that we've actually coined that phrase. But I think at the end of the day, it's one of those things, T, when you look at it, you say, "Man, I've been doing that the whole time." There's a point in some people's career where, when the lights go out, are you ready? Is an example of it, and I will share with you. Sometimes you may be there before the opportunity hits,
Mm.
and people don't understand your concept. Financial services is not sexy. It's not interesting. You hear from other people, uh, and my delivery was much different. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
My background in media, doing radio for many years and being an athlete for many years, I have a vast amount of friends that are in entertainment and in sports. So there's a different uh, vibe to what we're saying. Many athletes end their careers in a way that they didn't want to end it. It may be an injury, it might be someone firing them. Those are what we call lights out moments.
Hmm.
And when in the early stages, that's all I had to draw from is my career experiences in radio or being an athlete. But what later on, uh, becoming a financial service guy and dealing with clients all the time, I realized, wait a minute, America everyone's having a lights out moment of some kind, meaning if you look in the press today, there's more people who have lost jobs than ever before.
Oh, yes.
They went to work and said they had, this wonderful career, and the next thing you know, they have to go home and work. They have to go home because they can't work. There's many people getting unemployment for the first time ever, food stamps for the first time ever. Some of those folks were not ready for that. So these are lights out moments, right?
Yeah.
For me, the thing that they don't talk too much about in the world right now is that, this COVID-19 thing is real. We hear about the first responders, but you very rarely hear about your financial experts, especially insurance agents, life insurance agents. I've had 17 funerals in the last 4 months.
Wow.
And that is draining on your emotions when you lose people that you have basically had the opportunity to sit down with them, plan out their goals, their hopes, and their dreams, and shook their hand and made them a promise that you'll take care of their existing family. I take that very seriously because that is the level of what we do. And for those listeners out there who have a financial professional or insurance professional, you may not ever see what that person does for you in your life.
Wow.
But the truth is, we're the ones bringing you a check when the lights go out.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. Now you mentioned that, I always try to take key things and phrase it where people can kind of relate more to it. And you made a statement that said financial services are not that sexy. Why
At
not?
the time, they weren't.
So,
At the time, they weren't. Because at the time, the market was booming, and, we had, stocks and bonds and mutual funds and everything was going at its crazy rates, right?
Yeah.
And that was prior to 2006. And then we had the mortgage crash. But, if you study history, I like studying history, and you can study trends, right?
Right.
And we know that certain trends come back around. And if you are paying attention, you can see it coming. And the one thing that was not sexy is to talk about life insurance. Because you have these gurus that get on television and tell the audiences that they don't want to buy this and buy that. Well, I would challenge any of those folks to call me on the air because I know better than that. Let's not dog whistle. When you hear the words estate planning, guess what that is? It's based around life insurance. And your financial plan needs to do a couple things. It's designed, your financial plan is not a product. It is not your financial plan is not a product. It's a concept, it's a system. You can't buy one item and it be good. You need real estate. You need your IRA. You need a 401k. You need equity. You need business to write off your expenses. We need to stop telling people that just because we're being sold based on what we get paid for in media. That's damaging lifestyles. And here today, where you have so many people who are now having to use those retirement funds prematurely, and they have no way of recovering. Oh, wow. Now you need real advice. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you everybody's given that on a comprehensive scale, but it needs to be considered. If I'm a consumer today, by the time we're done with this interview, hopefully someone is going out and talking to an expert and looking at more than just one thing.
Let that expert be L.R. Johnson and Associates, okay?
Hey, we would love it to be us because, going back to what I was saying, the shift in the world shifted from, well, insurance was not that sexy when Ronco started talking about when the lights go out, are you ready? And then over the years, I've been saying it and 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 saying it, and all of a sudden, here we are. You'll be surprised at how many phone calls I've been getting saying, man, are you The thing you talked about 5, 8, 6, 7, 9 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
we need that now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the worst time to buy an insurance product is when you're already sick
Oh, wow.
because you have to be insurable, you know?
Oh, wow.
It's the worst time. The worst time to save money is when you're broke.
Yeah.
That's a lights out moment.
Because
Are
what do
you
you
ready
have
for that?
saved? You don't have anything to save, right?
Right. That's so here's what happens. We get people on the phone calls all the time that they may be sitting on opportunities and not realizing that I don't mind if I can share with you. I had a gentleman call me from Texas, and he was really upset because he had been let go, and he was sitting on $500,000 in his retirement account, but he really hated his job anyway. Well, it's a good time to start looking at doing what you want to do. Retirement does not mean 65.
Hmm.
Retirement doesn't mean 62. There's really no such thing as an age to retirement. Those are just some rules and parameters we set. I tell people all the time, retirement is when you have the opportunity to do what you want to do when you want to do it,
Absolutely.
how you want to do it.
Absolutely.
You can be retired at 28
If you have the money to
if
retire,
you've done
the
if
finances.
you have the resources to do that. You can. You absolutely can.
Wow.
So what we want to do is just broaden the minds of people and say, look, I'm not going to tell you that there is one way of getting there. There's many ways of getting there. So in sharing information with people, we were able to take this gentleman and say, look, why don't you leverage your retirement account? Why don't we start set up a business? And let me talk to you about why business is effective for you, because you get some tax deductible expenses off of being a corporation and you go into private practice. And he did that. And uh, now he's bought commercial real estate on top of it and all those different things. And, it's fun to see people really starting to have their lights come on. And,
When the light's about to go out.
you know, I think that's the most proud moment because I get to see people start winning.
Hmm.
And really and truly, that's the legacy I want to leave behind. I want to leave behind um, a very long list of people that said, because of that guy, I was able to get funded. Because of that guy, my kids went to college. Because of that guy, when my husband or my spouse passed away, we were able to survive. And he never let me just go. He
Wow.
told me what I needed to hear when I didn't want to hear it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now you mentioned earlier about financial gurus, and we know that there are a lot of them on televisions, commercials, books, seminars, conferences. Every time you turn on something or look at something, there's this new being. Social media is like everybody get a few dollars, get a million or two. Now they're all financial gurus. They all know what to do with money, how to have money. But in actuality, there's really no one size fits all in the world of finance, right? Would you agree with that? And expound upon if that statement does carry some weight.
Well, I think there's a variety of ways to reach your success, and then also what is a person's vision of what success is.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody needs $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. Not everybody. So that person's view of themselves and where they want to be comfortable may be totally different than another. So that means the information that we put out here, there's a large gap.
Hmm.
And as a planner, sometimes it benefits a person with a small vision that we've had interaction with people with a larger vision. And they're able to duplicate those same concepts and push them further along. Does that make sense?
Makes lots of sense. Absolutely. So if planning is key in life, then what are some of the relevant things that people need in their planning toolkit? Would you, because you do have a planning toolkit at LR Johnson, right? So
Yes.
in their planning toolkit, what's some things that they should have in that kit?
Well, I think what you start to do in conceptually, the toolkit that we used to talk about, and in that program, it's morphed into the lifestyle focus type planning now. And here's why. The toolkit just simply was a way of talking about a concept of, hey, if I were going to build a house, I need tools. But just because you have the tools don't mean you know how to build the house.
Right.
Does it make sense? So
Absolutely.
can you imagine having a hammer and a nail, and then you start putting stuff on, you build this little TP type of thing, and you got the windows where sideways, and your door doesn't fit right. I mean, you got air coming in all over the place. Well, you covered your head, but you didn't take care of all the other structure.
The foundation.
That's correct. Well, no one told you. You did it on your own, and you're happy about it. But the first day it rains, it's leaking, and the first day the wind's blowing, it blows over. Guess what? That's not a recipe for uh, all of us to follow. Correct? So
Absolutely.
so that's kind of how some people's financial strategies are. So we talked about the toolkit and saying, hey, let's talk about the perspective of planning. It's my opinion that planning needs to do a couple things. It needs to be relevant whether you live too long, die too early,
Hmm.
or become disabled in between.
Wow.
Those three things you got to take care of first. It's not the what ifs, it's the wins. The guarantees are that 100% of the people I talk to, Miss T, they die.
Hmm.
So why is that the last thing you're planning? We should take care of that first, and then we can start adding in all the what ifs. Does that
It's
make
fear.
sense?
Would you say it's fear?
Absolutely, it's fair. I mean, in America, I know we got a vast amount of people on this message right now. Well, when we think about COVID did a couple of things. It's bringing a highlight to the fact that if you get sick, you got to go to the doctor. You need medical insurance. If you get laid off, you're probably needing to do some type of rollover of your retirement account to go to the next place or to an IRA. And there's people dying. Okay, so when there's people dying, you got funeral expenses, final expenses, estate taxes, probate taxes. Have you prepared for it? And it's caught a lot of people off guard at the same time.
Hmm.
At the same time. It's not one item. There's a lot going on at the same time. So when you go home, you're exhausted because you're like, I'm nervous to go out because if you don't have health care, you're nervous to go out
Mm-hmm.
because you got this pandemic that's going around that's airborne. You
Right.
don't want to get sick because there's no cure. If you've lost your job or if you started a small business and you don't have any customers,
You can't sustain.
so those things are the things that are scary. But in those trials, there's some great things that are coming around. Is
Mm-hmm.
the fact that, well, if I just pivot, remember what I said earlier, sometimes what you do is over here, and then the world just shifts in your direction, right?
Right.
Well, now you have this media broadcast. We're speaking over Zoom a lot more.
Yes.
Beforehand, if I told someone I want to use Zoom, it's like, what? Well, just come by my house. Just come by my office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Today it's easy. People are like, I'll just Zoom you. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The shift happened. Or better yet, you go to your favorite dining restaurant, you sit outside. I'm a big fan of Longhorns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? You call Longhorns and get your food, and you drive up, pick it up, and take it home. And now you're having dinner in front of your family. Wait a minute. That's a shift. That's a shift, right?
Yeah. So this has
People,
forced us to get back to where we need to be.
correct. I don't know if it's where we need to be, but I think it shifts us. I think it shifts us to start thinking about the things that are most important. Home improvement projects have gone up.
Oh yes.
People are building slides and gardens, and they're taking care of the real estate. They're not just selling it off. Why? Before, we didn't have time to think about all the things we could do in our home. You know,
Yeah.
if you sit there long enough, you'll have a gym in your home. You may have a media room in your home. You have an office in your home. Oh, those are great opportunities for people to pivot into entrepreneurialism.
Absolutely. So now I must take it to this. Years ago, there was an article written by Suzanne White, and she kind of posed the question that does having a plan B sabotage your plan A? As we sit here and talk about family and COVID and how, we're going out to eat instead of eating inside the eatery, we're now taking it home and spending time with family. We're now more into home building projects and habitating our homes and things of that sort. But there was this credit she gave reference to by a Shannon Milkman how backup plans can harm our goal pursuit. And so, do you find that to have some truth that people really shouldn't have a plan B? Is your plan A really your plan A? Because having a plan B saying that you believe that that's failure.
And being a planner, I think that's just, I can understand where that comes from. Because most people, and I think we just have to hear what the authors are saying a little bit differently. Meaning, if I can use my own example of what I'm hearing, right?
Yes.
Let's just say you started a business and you were working at home, but you have a job. You have a 9 to 5. Most people will call that other job their part-time gig.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like the plan B. Plan B is I'm doing this part-time gig that I really like to do, but plan A, I'm doing this job right here because it pays the bills, right?
Absolutely.
So you meet someone like myself, I walk up to you and say, hey, you need to work on your business. What do you hear? You hear me saying working on your plan B, your business. But that's not what I'm saying. Your business is everything that you're doing.
You're right now.
It includes your A, includes your B, your C, D, E, F, and G. You know what I mean? So I don't know that it sabotages it, but if you're doing something that you don't really like, you're wasting time. You should find something that you really, really care about and move forward with it. And that should be inside of your business. If I were to use our favorite big old brand stores or whatever, you look at Walmart, you look at Amazon, they don't sell one product, they sell multiple products, right?
Yeah.
Each one of those products is a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Why? Because they all have profit margins. So as a businessman, I look at it, I'm like, hey, I got an insurance and financial service company. I got a travel company. I got, I do the music stuff. I got all kinds of different things. But the way I see it, it's all my business, right?
Absolutely. You're minding your own business.
That's correct. And I was fortunate enough to figure out what is it that I like doing and what do I not like to do. And then I started to, I use the term bodybuild because bodybuilders know how to grow one muscle at a time. They're sculpting their body. Body sculpting is different than going in there and running and just losing weight. Well, if you could sculpt your lifestyle and earn money from it, guess what? You're probably happier. I love to travel. I love helping people. I love talking about business. I love it. Absolutely. Why? Because everywhere you go, something is talking about something that you see, touch, or discuss has to do with money.
That's right.
There's a strategy behind it, right?
Yes.
You go from one country to the next country, you have to stay somewhere. It has to do with some real estate.
Money.
There you go. And if you're cool enough that the people enjoy being around you, you have these beautiful relationships. You learn from people.
Yes.
And everywhere you go. So, there's just so many opportunities. I don't know that it sabotages it. However, I think it does allow you to focus on what it is that you really care about the most and focus on it. And in that, it may be more than one thing.
Hmm.
So I just tell people, look, mind your business, take care of your business. And you'll see that your lifestyle follows that.
Yeah. So share with the listeners, let's mind your business a little bit and talk
Oh,
about
no.
and talk about a time when maybe your lights have gone out. I think we met like around 2008, 2009, and now
Yeah.
we're in 2020, right? That's a
Yeah.
long time, long time. So, being that you are in this financial world and this insurance world, share your experience on your relationship with money and how you learned to become so financial responsible and savvy, and a time when maybe your lights went out that you were like, oh my, I may need to not necessarily reinvent, but maneuver some things in my life.
Wow. Since I've seen you, there's been a lot. I should add, this is the first interview since a recent lights out moment,
Wow.
and so I'm so happy and feel so blessed and honored to have to be on.
Same here.
I,
Thank you.
and you start to look at life a little bit differently when you have some life experiences. I think when people initially start to engage, at least with me, um, the thoughts that they're having is about what you do for a living. Okay, if I'm an insurance expert, we're talking about insurance. It's almost like a transactional conversation until I start to show that I'm a real person
Hmm.
and these are real life issues and these are things that you might want to consider. And these are things that are either experiences of my own or people that I've served. Well, for myself, uh, in 2011, I think it was 2011, I had my own lights out moment. Uh, I found that I had a heart condition and flatlined, actually flatlined. And thank God that it wasn't my time. But
Oh,
from that, um, I I really truly began to understand that uh, when the lights go out, are you ready? Became something that I even had to look at a little differently.
wow.
Um, the funny thing is, again, uh, my favorite artist now is Mr. Somerville, and we were having a meeting, and when this happened, um, I was having complications with my heart for the first meeting that we were going to have, and he looked me in the eye and said, "Hey, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to do business with you in any way because you're not. Are you taking care of yourself?"
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Man, of course I am. You know what? Just give me a moment. Let me calm down a little bit." And he said, "Well, we'll give you a couple of minutes. If not, we're going to go to the hospital." I said, "Fine, I'll go to the hospital." And we get to the hospital, and the next thing you know, we got there, and I put my finger in the little heart monitor, and I was at 168. My heartbeat was at 168,
Mm.
and they took me to the back and plugged me up, and we had to do their magic thing. And I've said this since I've been on tour. Since then, on my speaking tours, I do a talk called 5 Minutes, and it was when the doctor came in to me, and there's a big, huge clock in front of us. And he said to me, "Mr. Johnson, listen, you've made everybody laugh, and everybody is concerned about you, but I need your attention." He said, "Mr. Johnson, you got 5 minutes before we disconnect your heart. Do you have a will?"
Wow.
I'm like, "Disconnect my heart? What are you talking about?"
Wow.
I'm
Yes.
cracking jokes, right? He's
Yeah.
like, "Wait a minute. No, we got to shut your heart down. They got to reset your heart, right?"
Wow.
So, and do you have a will? I was like, "A will? A trust? I'm a business person. I'm a father. I'm a brother. Uh, I'm a son. Uh, I got people that work with me, work for me, all these different things. You don't know. He didn't know my resume. And I'm looking at that clock, and I still see that clock today as the time started to tick. And I'll never forget when I got down to the last 2 minutes of that 5 minutes, I started to pray, and I asked the Lord simply for more time on this earth. If I could have more time on this earth to spend with my kid. My child was 8 years old at the time. Mm-hmm. She's now 17. And I promised that I would spend more time with her and that I would give more of my time and resources to help people through my foundation, which is the Ronco Johnson Foundation for Financial Literacy. So even talking to your audience right now over the airways, we're dropping information that they would normally pay $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 for.
Absolutely.
And so in hopes that we help people. And, you know, my life has been restored. The way I look at things is totally different. I think I'm much more patient. I realize that there's things that I was doing in my life that I didn't need to do. I trust the universe a little bit more. And I mitigate risk by just simply avoiding risk, the highest risk things. And that has been a life changer for me. So after that lights out moment, you know, I didn't know exactly where I was what I wanted to do. And I needed to take some time off. And for your listeners out there, you know, there's somebody out there that has built a small business that has put a lot of hours into it. And there were times where I would spend 20-hour days taking it away from my family and my daughter. And at the time I was married. And, you know, I look back at it today and say, man, I probably could have been a better husband. I probably could have been a better father. I could have been a better friend. I could have been a lot of things. But I was putting so much time into trying to be the best at my career that I could be. And once I got there, being amongst the best of the best, I realized you get the trophy, but man, there's a lot that you didn't get with that trophy. So I went on tour for about 3 years talking about when the lights go out, are you ready? And then this is some detail you may or may not know. And the hardest thing in the world to do is to get on stage in front of 5,000 to 3,000 to 5,000 people and talk about your most vulnerable situation. You're naked on stage. And that still has been a tender topic for me when you're talking about what do you do when you only have 5 minutes left? Wow. What goes through your mind? Well, I can tell you everything that I've ever touched, everybody I've ever talked to, people that I've never even thought about will come to my mind. But the question becomes later is, well, now that you've experienced that, what would you do differently if you had more time? Today, I live 5 minutes at a time.
I like that.
5 minutes at a time. And I know it sounds crazy that you live 5 minutes at a time, but for me, the next 5 minutes is not guaranteed.
So share what you mean by that. You live 5 minutes at a time. Break that down.
Okay. 5 minutes at a time just simply means to me is when the doctor came in and said, you have 5 minutes to process your thoughts, and we're going to shut you down. Literally, you had 5 minutes. Literally. Okay. I have 5 minutes to try to tell you, I'm in a hospital. My mom's not there. My dad's not there. My wife's not there. My daughter's not there. My friends are not there. I have one person. He's my friend now, but he hardly knew me.
Right.
I was alone. My flatline time was 5:45 p.m.
Wow.
I actually have the opportunity to sit here and say, you know, if that was the last moment of my life, I did not like what my obituary would have said. At the time, it would have been Ronco Johnson, age 38, member of the $1 Million Round Table. He was a top of the table guy. He's the second African American to reach this goal, and he had a child at 8 years old, and at the time he was going through a divorce. Who cares about the money?
Right.
I mean, yes, we did very well, but you couldn't take it with you. But from that, I realized that the things that we think are the most important really aren't that important at all. So I think when people get the chance to talk to me, they're always caught off guard by the view that I'm sharing. Is that yeah, we go get nice things, but I think because I don't take those things as seriously anymore, and I focus on the things that you can't see. Like you asked me about my daughter. We're leaving Alabama tomorrow. She's now a top. She's a top recruit for basketball. She's in her senior year. I absolutely can't. I can't. I lose myself in her. You know what I mean? She's amazing. She can do a lot of things. Gorgeous young lady,
Beautiful, yes.
smart young lady. I never have any troubles from her. And these coaches and scouts, somebody's going to get them a good one in her. I tell you now. And her mom, still my best friend, and I think we saw each other when we were with you in football games. She's a cheerleader, so football games, basketball games, we all travel together. We have our separate lives now, but we are still connected. Absolutely. And the one thing that I learned through that is, wait a minute, people think that because you're not married anymore that you're supposed to hate each other.
Right.
No, she's still family. That's my family.
Absolutely.
So anyone that I were to encounter that comes into that, got to understand, Absolutely. It's still family.
Absolutely.
No, we're not in a married relationship anymore. There's none of that extracurricular stuff going on, but that's still family. Absolutely. And because we set those boundaries, I think it allowed for our daughter to be very balanced, and she sees both of us probably more than she did when we were married.
Absolutely.
So I know your show goes into many different parts of our lifestyle, and I think it's important for people to understand that we're not just on here talking about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and insurance and interest rates. We are talking about your life.
That's right.
And if a person doesn't understand that you're living, these things got to be important. Your lifestyle is important. Me going to see my daughter do everything that she's done, I haven't missed a day. That's important. I love my job because it's not a job to me. I own it. I've heard if you can own your biggest asset is what you own. Mm. If you can give it away, you probably own it. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
If I can give knowledge away, I had to own that knowledge. I can put a price tag on it.
Yeah.
But some people give a lot of knowledge for free.
They do.
But there are some other people that have learned to monetize their knowledge.
Sharing is caring. But what I heard you say in all of that is that even in that 545 flat line, right? I heard you even in that moment when the doctor was asking you those questions, you still talked about everybody. You talked about all those individuals who you're responsible for. This person and that person and what's next, and you had to worry about wills and trusts even in that moment when in actuality, what about you?
Right.
What about you? But I love the fact how you came back to it and you said, now you take those 5 minutes. You live 5 minutes at a time. So that before that flat line, you were talking about everybody else. But now it's about you. You incorporated yourself into your lifestyle, not just about everybody else, because the reality of it is what? How can we take care of somebody else if we can't take care of ourselves? Joy Somerville said it to you. Wait, how are you going to take care of my stuff that I got going on if you're not taking care of you?
Right.
Oh man, that's good. And then here's the other thing. We all have a birthday. We all have a death date. We all know that we're born. We know that day. We celebrate it every year. Some people for the whole year versus a month. But we also have the death date, and we never know what that death date is. So you had programs that you offer. What is the meaning behind those programs, and even the book that you wrote about, you expound upon the program and the offerings that the things that you offer for people to
Well,
prepare for that death date, prepare for that lights out.
well, when you say death date, is scary because people say, "Hey, I ain't ready to die." But you're right. I say it all the time. There's a start date and an end date.
Yep.
There's 2 dates: a start date and an end date. What you do in between those dates is what matters. I had a person come up to me and say, "Well, Ronco, you only got one life to live. You should just enjoy yourself."
I hear that all the time.
And I said, "No, you got one life to die.
Wow.
I got days to live." I hate when I see someone say, "I'm having a bad day." Think about this for a second.
Okay.
Do you know that there's 24 hours in a day?
There are. Yes.
How can you have a bad day at 9 o'clock in the morning?
It should have just started, right?
You can't. No, it just started. But it takes somebody to really, say something kind of slick and it destroys your day. No. When we start to frame our mind a little bit differently, I told a friend of mine, I said, "Look, you're not having a bad day. Maybe you had a bad moment in your day. But I'm standing in front of you to give you some positive energy right now that hopefully you're going to have a better moment right now. Let's focus on having a better moment right now."
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, that person's energy charge, just like you just breathe life into their and hope into their body.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's that may seem very, very small, but it affects the lifestyle.
Absolutely.
How? If I've worked all day, I'm upset about my job. I go home, I'm thinking about my job. I'm not talking to my kid about their day. I'm not talking to my spouse about her concerns. And when someone talks too long, then you're blasting off at people. And then they have another opinion of you. Guess what? It's just affected your lifestyle.
Wow.
And you may not even recognize it until you start sitting down and saying, "You know what? I need to take control of me." I'm about to go a little bit further with that.
Please do.
Quincy Jones said you only have 28,000 days to live.
Wow.
The average person only has 28,000 days. So, for your listeners out there, let me explain to you. We got a start date, we got an end date. We just don't know when that end date is. So, there's 365 days in a year. Multiply that by how many, how many years you've been on this planet. Okay?
Yeah.
I've already been on this planet over 16,000 days. So that means to me, if the average person lives 28,000 days, I got 14,000 days left. 14,000 days. When you look at it that way and you start to break it down, there is absolutely nothing that's going to stop me from having a good day because I only got 14,000 of them left. I've already wasted 16,000 days.
That's scary.
When the lights go out, are you ready? Woo.
Woo. You hear that, guys? When the lights go out, are you ready? I don't know.
Because here's the thing, you got 28,000 days and a possible. For all you guys that play cards, you play spades, you got one in a possible. Right. You got 28,000 days in the possible. The possible is you could die tonight.
Wow. That's deep.
So did you have a bad day?
You had a bad moment.
You better talk about planning for right now.
Wow.
Ask me what kind of day Breonna Taylor had.
Oh, man.
Did she have a good moment before she had a bad moment? Was she ready for that?
Wow.
George Floyd, was he having a bad moment? What was his moments 2 hours before that happened?
Wow.
When the lights go out, are you ready? Listen, this is real. I know we don't want to talk about it,
Yes, we
but
do.
guess what?
Keeping it real.
Lives
Yes, we do.
matter. Lives
Yes.
matter.
Yes.
Lives matter.
Yes.
And for our folks out there that are protesting Black Lives Matter and all the good stuff, listen, if you go back, the reason why they feel like your lives don't matter because you haven't learned to monetize your life.
Ooh, step on toes.
I'm not stepping on toes, sweetheart. It's time that people got to learn the truth. We've been saying things for a very long time to make people feel okay.
And we can't
But now things are happening that makes you not feel okay. Here's the thing. The average life is worth $10 million. How much insurance do you have for yourself?
Wow.
Maybe if we all had $10 million of life insurance, it'd stop killing us.
Wow.
If they stop killing us, guess what happens with that? They'll stop killing us because it's getting in their pocket. It's giving us tax-free money to fight for ourselves, have better defense counsel for ourselves. We can deal with it a little bit longer. We're not going around doing press junkets.
Wow.
We can start businesses tax-free. People got to wake up. The world's having a lights out moment, and we're asking people to give us something that we can take care of ourselves.
Woo. Handouts.
There's no more handouts.
No. Wow.
Because when you take a handout, you give permission for someone else to tell you what to do with it.
That's true. Giving someone else power over your life.
And there's some people on this that's listening to this right now understand.
Oh, yes.
The power of owning your own, it doesn't matter your skin tone. The power of owning your own is saying, I can change, I can pivot, I can go from having people in my restaurant to delivery. I can take time off right now and spend with my family. I can go buy more real estate and create more cash flow in my businesses. I can buy more insurance because I'm understanding that, hey, if I have a business and I happen to have benefits in my business and I've sat down with an L.R. Johnson or a Ronco Johnson, I can expense most of these things instead of looking at the TV being upset about this guy running our country with $700 of taxes. Well, your question should be, don't be mad. How did he get to that?
How did he get to that? Right.
The truth is you're playing by a whole different rule book. Right. It's still financial services. So I'm taking, well, when the lights go out, are you ready? It's not the guy that's running the country. It's the audience of people that's mad at him because he ain't showing his taxes. If he hasn't showed his taxes, you try going and go get a mortgage today without showing your taxes. How do you get a job? How do you get a mortgage?
Got to show everything.
Evidently, you don't.
Evidently, yeah, I guess you're right.
You know, if you buy,
he doesn't.
Yeah, well,
you get your financial bracket. Money talks, everything else walks.
Well, there's a difference between buying real estate through a real estate agent and being a real estate investor as well.
Big difference.
The average person is going out here saying, hey, interest rates are low. I'm going to go out here and go get a loan. Well, if I'm a small business person and you got to show your income and you've been out of work for 9 months, who's going to give you a loan? Nobody. It's difficult for you to get a loan. But if you're a real estate investor and you got $5,000 in the bank, you can go out here and buy subject twos, wholesales, and tax liens and all kinds of different things, close on a house in 4 days.
Because you're a lender, not a borrower.
Get out of here. But most people say, well, I don't want to do that. That sounds like it's just too much. Well, okay. All right. So what we're talking about is how do you build up your assets? It's part of your lifestyle. I've had old cars that have been sitting around. At the time I was like, it's not important for me to fix them, right?
Yeah.
My daughter's 17 now. It's important for me to fix them. There was nothing wrong with them. What do? Throw some good old paint on a nice BMW and make sure the engines are all brand new. It costs less than the car does. Why would I go spend $30,000, $40,000 on a brand new car. I can spend $3,000 to $5,000 on this car and make it brand
Wow.
new. So something that we already own. And if she doesn't want to drive it, then I can always turn around and rent it out to someone if they wanted it. If I go buy a piece of property, if you're walking around a 5-bedroom house and you're listening to this broadcast and there's nobody there and you're an empty nester, when you walk to the other 4 bedrooms, you got to think, how much would someone be willing to pay to stay in this room?
Airbnb.
It's amazing that the government doesn't want you to do Airbnb. It's amazing that they're talking about outlaw. How can you outlaw the fact that I'm in my own house and I want to rent out my room because a neighbor said, I got too many people here? Get a life. Really? I think that's garbage.
Buy some land and build it on your own and do what you want to do.
Yeah, but I think as long as it doesn't affect the neighborhood and the neighbors, I got to be concerned that I'm affecting the hotel business.
It's crazy.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Because if I walk through your house and I see it, I'm going to tell you, I'll say, Miss Ty, it's time for you to look at these rooms. If 2 people stayed in that room, that's $83 a person. That's $166 a night. You got 5 bedrooms. That's $166 times 5. $166 times 5 times 5 days is not a bad weekend.
No, it's not.
For those people who are doing the math on that, that's probably your mortgage in 1 week. If you did it over and over again, 4 weeks times, you just quadrupled your mortgage. Pay your house off in 7 years.
I hope you got that nugget. So then that goes into the question then, what have you noticed to be most important to people? Is it not? So finances may not be one of them.
No, it may not be. I think when we start to look at money as a tool to live the life you want to live, the lifestyle is probably more important than the money.
Because how you live will determine how you make the money and how you keep the money.
Absolutely. Here's a good book. I tell people nowadays, before I want to talk to someone, I tell people, you need to go get the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Because if you're like me, my family, hardworking family, we come from humble beginnings. My parents ended up working for the post office and retired. But, there was no education about wealth and understanding principles. Yes, you go to church and you learn about principles. The 10 Commandments are principles. The Constitution is supposed to be principles. Well, where's the wealth principles? Well, that book helps to explain those principles of wealth.
And share the name of the book one more time, please.
It's The Richest Man in Babylon.
All right.
And it's a bestseller. It was written in, I think, 1935. It's an easy read. You can get it on Amazon and listen to it in the audiobook, I think, for $4.98. And you'll be done with it in 2 hours. But it will frame the work of what you're supposed to expect, And these are some of just the principles that I use when we're managing people's lives, because it's not just their money. We're focusing on their total lifestyle. It talked about a slave that wanted to better himself and saw a very wealthy man and wanted to ask the question, how did you become so rich? And why am I working so much harder than you appear to be? When everyone told that one slave not to do that, don't worry about it, you get back to work. He decided to go ask. And the man told him very simply, you do what I'm telling you to do, come back and see me in a few years, and then we'll talk about step 2.
Wow. Well,
he started to save the first 10% of his money that his coin. It's called gold at the time. And once he did that, once he started to save, he had a nice little nest egg. He goes back and sees the man again, and he tells him the next steps. I'm not going to ruin the story for you on your show, because I want people to call me and say, Ronco, I read it.
Oh, I'm ready.
Or send me an email. Send me an email at roncojohnson.com or send me an email at ronco at lrj-associates.com. Tell me you read it. Find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, all that stuff. Send it to me. Let me know that you read it. And then I can break it down for you. There's three simple principles to saving money: 10%, 20%, 70%.
So why do you think people have so many challenges with money? Because we already talked about the sense of fear, but why do they have so many challenges with money?
The fear is because you don't have your system.
Hmm. Okay.
If you didn't today, can you imagine driving from here to California without GPS or a map?
Nope.
But people get in their car all day long as their GPS is working, right?
Absolutely.
Suppose your phone cord didn't work.
Hmm.
Ever had a battery charger go dead on you? You feel
Absolutely.
lost, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we give you a map here and say, look, if you had $1,000, right? If you had $1,000, you go by we call it the 10-20-70 principle, right?
Okay.
The first 10% goes to you. The second 20% goes to debt. And the 70% becomes your life you live off of.
Mm.
Somebody out here is going to say, oh, no, first 10% goes to tithes and offering.
Oh, yes, they are going to say that now.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. And I will not disagree with you. But in that scenario, the Babylonians were 5,000 years before Christ.
Wow.
So the principles of the Babylonians were the original financiers.
Hmm.
Those principles were adopted by what we do in our religions today. But that's not what they said. When you start to look at what they're saying, I'm not telling you not to do that. The first 10%, you got to take care of who first? You got to take care of you. You said it earlier in the podcast. You got to take care of you.
That's right.
This has got to go away. This is gold. It's too hard to work for this gold. You can't loan this gold to people who don't understand how hard you had to work to get it. You can't give it away. That's your gold. That 20% out of $1,000, that's $200. That's money you should be putting towards any debts.
Wow.
If you have more than 20% of your money that's due to debt, that lets you know you're living above your means. Mm. The other 70%, you should take care of your family, pay your light, gas, water bill, your mortgage with, you live off of, and you can tithe and offer for the first 10% out of that 70.
Wow.
When you do this, I can tell you right now, that just changed somebody's life right then. When you do that right then, you automatically have budgeted for everybody. And most people say, well, I can't do that because I do it on this paycheck and that pay. No, 10% of anytime you get $1, if a friend of yours gives you $1, you should be putting 10% to you, 20% to the debt, 70% of it you live off of. Mm. Now, what happens when you get out of debt? When you get out of debt, now it becomes 30% goes to you, 70% goes to your lifestyle.
You've increased you.
You've increased you. Once you start to see your increase, you're going to see a larger block of money. That means that maybe it's time to start thinking about starting your own business. And if you start your own business, now we need to flip-flop it. You go from 30% to it goes from 30% to 70%. It flips. Here's why. When you start a company, that 70%, you expense off. And you live off of 30%. That's taxable. That's how you get your tax down. That's how you got your tax breaks down. Because you're paying tax on marginal tax brackets that go up the more money you make. But if you have a company, you have revenue, and you have expenses to the business. That brings your taxable income down. Does that make sense?
Makes lots of sense.
Okay. So that's why the wealthy can say, I don't make no money. They didn't, because it's based off of your income. Okay, well, if I'm only taking home 30% of the company's revenue as income, but I've expensed off these other things out here, what are we really saying? Have you ever heard of executive homes?
Yes.
That just means a company owns it, right?
That's right.
Have you ever heard of corporate credit?
Yes.
That's just a way of hiding your credit card usage from your personal credit score.
Mm.
What?
It's crazy.
What? I know there's some people listening right now. They're saying, I've never, look it up.
Look it up.
Look it up. And you want to know how to get there, then you call me.
Well, they can
Because it's
also go
real.
to Ronco Johnson Foundation for Financial Literacy and learn about a lot of those glossary terms that you have on your website as well.
Yeah, there's a lot in the information, but that part of it, you're exactly right. You probably need to call L.R. Johnson for that one. That's more on the consulting side of things. But the reason why I'm giving you that, T, because I respect you, I respect media, and for a very long time, I've had troubles trying to discuss what it is that we do and frame it for media, so that people would not look at it a different way, because we're held to a higher standard.
Absolutely.
But your audience is listening right now. Somebody out there is hurting right now. Somebody needs an answer, and they need a solution right now. They don't have time to wait to get to me. So I'm using your platform to give them information right now. I want your audience to change their lives right now. 5 minutes at a time. You don't have to get it all done. Just keep taking steps, one step at a time, 5 minutes at a time, and eventually you'll look back and it'll be 10 years ago that someone like Miss T here will say to you, hey, I remember when you first said something about this, when the lights go out, are you ready? And today I'm going to tell you, you're ready. You're ready.
Wow. Now, let me ask you this. In your experience with coaching men and women, do you find that there's a difference in gender approaches to finances? Because
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Help us with that.
Well, I can tell you, it's been my experience that, especially in later years, that women are more responsible in some ways. Here's why: the caring nature of a female has a lot to do with feeling secure, right?
Yes.
And in that security, it's not necessarily I that feels secure, but I need to be financially secure. I like my man to make me feel secure, but if he's not around, how am I secure without him? Right?
Yeah.
So more and more ladies look at it and say, well, the chances are statistically females are going to live longer than males. We know that. So that's a lights out moment waiting to happen. Are you ready for that? The answer is, if you hadn't planned for it, you need to sit down and talk to someone. Well, if I got to save to live another 10 to 15, maybe 20 years beyond my health or my partner, if I have one, that's a lot of money we need to save.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money that needs to be saved. There's one thing that women have to worry about when they're young and they have kids and they have babies. They have to take time off of work. Sometimes even go into the career that they study for to come back to being in the world of the workforce.
Wow. Yes.
And times have changed. 15 years ago, you didn't have certain things that we have right now. Just 6 months ago, you weren't using Zoom. So men are a little different. Men are a little different. Their planning habits tend to say, I want to take care of somebody. And this is what I've done to take care of them. It's more, it's the more macho side of it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And we have a term that we say, people who buy insurance and financial services, they either owe someone or they love someone.
Oh, wow. That's deep. okay, you have to expound upon that. You stated either owe someone, right? So explain that.
You either owe a mortgage company,
Got it.
student loan,
Got it.
a debt to somebody that you know, I call him Little Jimmy. Little Jimmy out there in the street, you might owe him. You don't want Little Jimmy to show up. You know what I mean?
That's
Okay.
true. That's true.
Or maybe you made a promise like I did to my little girl that I was going to do the right thing for her and there was not going to be anything that she was going to need because her dad said he took care of it.
Wow.
You owe that. You don't want to get caught lying.
Mm.
Even when your time's expired, you don't want to do that.
Wow.
Your obligation is to take care of them, right?
Absolutely.
For those of you that are married, you know, you said that you were, yeah, exactly. That was a promise, right? Good times or bad.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but, you know, I sell promises for a living. Okay. So I'm really big on a promise. If you make a promise,
You have to deliver.
you have to deliver that. And I think sometimes we forget, you know, how important a handshake and how important a promise is. Nowadays, you got to write it in a contract. It's nothing but a promise, right?
Yes.
So, so, but I have found over the years that ladies are more fiscally responsible than most of our guys because they're doing more of their checkups.
Mm-hmm.
They're in tune with their bodies. Guys tend not to know their health changes and situations, and you know, for the brothers that have, you know, divorce is real as well, and you know, financially, people get hit pretty hard from those experiences. So you still have to have somebody to recalibrate you and help you get back on track. And when you can get back on track, you tend to stop thinking about how you got there.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Lots of sense.
And
Absolutely.
that makes it easier for you as a. I can only speak to the men on this one. It makes it easier for men to accept whatever the end result was to a previous relationship, and you can start being friends again. You don't have that. You don't have that feeling that hey, that person just man cost me all this. You know, you don't have it. So because you're focusing 5 minutes at a time and moving forward, and you're taking responsibility. I think ladies take responsibility a little bit quicker.
Okay.
They do.
So let me ask you this then. How has we've talked about COVID a little bit, right? Earlier
Yeah.
on. But how has your family and even your business life sustained during this worldly change? I mean, before we started talking on the platform today, you talked about how you had a friend out of state. So just kind of share what your experiences has been during this pandemic personally, with you, your family, your friends, your daughter, and your business.
Well, I think the worldly changes of COVID are really, really interesting. When you sit down and you have an opportunity to pay attention, number one, you have time to pay attention. If you don't get involved in all the rhetoric that is meant for distraction, if you pay real close attention, the world is slowed down. Even right now, it's still creeping. It's not, if you're at home and you're not out there talking to everybody, look, everything is not back to normal. Okay. Um, for my personal business, today I'm in my office and, we have an office still in Marietta, Georgia. But as you mentioned, I just flew out to Los Angeles and came back and we got people all over the country, but just being able to have communication through internet services is key. It has been key for us. Um, and we've been able to handle the transmission uh, of information through the internet, um, much more than we have in the past, you know, and it's been accepted as an industry. Whereas before, we were told that we couldn't do things before, right?
Right. That's right.
If you look at recording artists, you know, you can be at home for 3 weeks, but eventually you want to perform and you can't go out and perform. Well, what do? You turn the camera on and you perform.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're going to see from that is even more independent business because I can reach more people. Being a former radio host, and you can appreciate this, there's more than 5 people listening to this broadcast.
Absolutely.
So if I perform the same act that I do at a normal basis in my office one-on-one on this broadcast, I'm hitting 5,000, 50,000, 100,000 people at one time. That's probably a more efficient way to do your business.
Changing the game.
So, but you know, and also you start building your personal brand awareness and those types of things. I think it forces you to say you pivot to a different place in your career. Um, I can't speak for everyone, but those who have had quality brands and they've built a brand for themselves, or they're a subject matter expert, the transition has been easier for us because we're recognizable people and you've got your personality, and some people have heard about you or they can find out information about you. I think that has definitely been beneficial to my practice in the COVID environment versus someone that is just starting and nobody knows them.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So there are a wealth of insurance and financial planning companies in the world, right? All over. You
Sure.
find them everywhere. So why L.R. Johnson and Associates?
Miss T, is it not obvious? It's me.
Hey, I know that.
It's me. It's me. You know, it's taken me a long. And to your audience that don't know me, you know, it's taken me 20 years to get to the point that I realized that I need to be telling people it's me.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked for other companies. Now they're partnered with my company. But the way that I do my planning has been me, right?
Yeah.
The relationships that I build with the clients has been me. For many years, I was always about trying to elevate other people and kind of play the background, and, you know, didn't want people to know it was me too much. And you can only hold everybody else up for so long.
Yeah.
You know, those health challenges that we talked about, it allow me to really pay attention to me. And the truth is, uh, there's so many things that uh, come from this. Listen, when you choose L.R. Johnson and Associates, my middle name is Ronco, my first name is Larry. And you choose L.R. Johnson, first of all, you're not just getting some guy that sits in an office and clicking numbers. You know, you're getting my sports history. You're getting my broadcast history. You're getting my knowledge of electronics and film and production. You're getting my writing skills. You're getting my insurance skills. You're getting my real estate investment knowledge. You're getting my my knowledge for funding your business. You're getting how to put all this stuff together. There's many reasons why I think that what makes L.R. Johnson and Associates so special is that we have a lot of life experiences that go into our lifestyle focused planning. And if you want someone that can understand that you have a lifestyle that we need to focus on and build a plan around, that way it doesn't become so much work for you. That's why you choose L.R. Johnson and Associates.
Yeah, and if you want somebody to make you smile, cry, and dry your eye all at the same time, you want L.R. Johnson and Associates.
Well,
This should be me
hey,
for me the first time.
you know, and 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 I apologize for the crying, but guess what? If you can't cry with
It was
someone,
good though. It was a good cry.
it's a good cry.
It was
And
like
and
when
I
the lights
think
go out, are you ready? Cry.
and guess what happened for you when you realized that you probably weren't as ready as you thought you were. You
Yes.
cried. You
Yes.
cried because you're scared,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
what happens when you get the tool to protect yourself? All of a sudden, you stop crying.
Yeah.
Now you're ready to go into battle,
Absolutely.
and you feel more confident. And once you've overcome a couple of those obstacles, I got that. I got my house, I got my car, I got my savings, I got my business. Oh, I got that. I've loaned out money and I got this coming in. I got cash flow coming in. Guess what? You start moving with a swagger. That's why I love the song Swag.
I love
You
it. And
know,
I tell you guys, it's funny because when I met him, I was like, wow, this is the minister of financial financial services. This is the pastor of it. I mean, because you give it so real and raw and necessary. You were not cocky about it. You were necessary about it. And it was I would just see how people listening gravitated towards what you were saying because they knew it was real and it was truly a wake up call for them. It's like in that moment their life had flatlined before them. It's like, wow, what am I doing to be better and do better? Nothing. But now I've been given this information just in a moment because that one sentence changed my life forever. I remember I had finally paid off my car payment. I was like, I'm never getting another car payment. Then I get another car and I quickly paid off the car payment. And I will tell you, that was what, 11, 12 years ago. And I always resonate back to when the lights go out, are you ready? That has been my
wow,
life ever since. For 11 years, from the day I met you, I think about that every single time I make a move. When the lights go out, am I ready? I will not make this move unless I'm ready.
wow.
So I thank you.
No, thank you for that. You know, wow, that just warms my heart. Um, the truth is that means a lot. And in Atlanta, we had a mayor, and I remember one time I was at a ball, and I was with Mayor Shirley Franklin, and um, amongst some other people, right?
Hmm.
And they were civil rights icons. Rest in peace, Congressman John Lewis, mentor of mine, good friend, and Mr. C.T. Vivian. Uh, they're going to be missed. But what she told me at that time is that I was visibly frustrated. They didn't understand that we need to take care of some. There was some other planning that needed to be done, and she explained to me really quickly that she made her hand as if it were um, uh, a sharp edge at the end of your fingertips,
Mm.
and she said, "Well, those gentlemen up on that stage, when they were kids, they were marching in Selma. They were affecting change, but didn't know it." And she said, "Ronco, along with Miss Janice Mathis, shout out to Miss Janice Mathis, and she said, we think your mind is brilliant, but the thing is, people are not going to understand what you said till 10 years later.
Wow.
When you're piercing through history and you hold your hands like a piercing moment, everything flows backwards. It hits everybody else at a later time."
Wow.
I thought that was the most incredible statement. I still think about that today. And as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at her photo we took when she told me. And it's amazing that here we are in 2020,
Hmm.
and people are just now getting the opportunity to tell me what you just said, how it affected you.
Absolutely.
You know, I can share this with you, and you didn't ask me this one, but I'm going to share it with you. In the last 6 years, I've been out 4 of them.
Wow.
I came back from the tour ready to rock and roll after being away for almost 2.5 years, right? I didn't close my firm. My firm was open and people could still get to me. And I'm ready to go out and I'm ready to kill this thing. I'm ready to knock it out. And I had a car accident.
Mm.
This car accident, it seems simple on the surface, but it caused me some neck, back, and shoulder injuries, along with a knee injury. And it cost me some cognitive abilities at the time, where I couldn't recall and have this conversation so fast. And I think one of the things most people know me for is the ability to react and respond in a timely manner and all those different things. And there is a difference between wanting to do something and can't do it,
Right.
or just being plain lazy and not doing it. So I think it today is a blessing to have regained all of my cognitive abilities, that in a time where people need me. I think God is good for that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just in time. He's always right on time. You asked me about my friend. I have a friend of mine that he is amongst the top advisors in the world. And I went to see him in LA. And I have to explain this because as a planner, a lawyer, and all these different things, he planned it out perfectly. My friend is suffering from leukemia, and it's a very aggressive stage at this point. And the one thing that is beautiful about being an architect of finance, I don't see myself as a salesperson. I see myself as an architect, because we're really taking all this lifestyle stuff and we're putting it into you. And my job is to see things in the future, where you are and where you're going, right?
Right.
I watched this gentleman put his plan together. You know, he had the $5 million house. He had all the super nice cars. He had all the, all this stuff he had down. But as his body started to give, he started to shrink down, and he started to sell off his business and all the different things. And he had long-term care insurance. So he has 24 hours of care in a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful condominium that he bought for himself by the beach in the hills of California. My thoughts were, man, he did it right. Until I got there. Every plan, there's always something else that you can't plan for. The day that I showed up, the caregiver, it was the caregiver's very first day. Not the very first day with him, very first day in the industry. That caregiver was a younger person, and he is a more mature man. Well, if you don't know someone, you don't know their resume, you don't know their background, you don't know what their influence has been. It's not that you don't care, you just don't know. She couldn't understand why he didn't want to respond, and it was said that he wasn't responsive until I showed up. He responded the whole entire day. His doctors couldn't understand why he was so responsive. It wasn't because he wasn't responsive. It was because this particular guy had a higher level of a lifestyle and wasn't being treated to the way he's accustomed to being.
Wow.
And he couldn't say it. He couldn't write it. And there was no one there to defend him or explain who he was. Well, that is hard to plan for.
Wow.
When you're planning, when you have efficiently planned for quality care, but the people caring for you don't care about you.
Well, that's deep.
That's tough. My heart goes out to my man. He's still kicking. But, like I said, it might sound very negative, but it was a positive moment. Again, guys, it's a positive moment that I can bring back and share with you while I'm here and while you're able to listen, and things that we need to probably start to think about differently. Because we all get this idea that, hey, when it's my time, it's going to go like according to plan A, plan B, and plan C. And like you said, if plan B doesn't work out, if plan A doesn't work out, did I sabotage plan A with plan B?
Wow.
You know, no, you just didn't know.
Wow.
You just didn't know.
It really makes you think, do we need to start writing an about me list and keeping it somewhere in our homes or wherever we are? Because I mean, I told you guys he'll make you cry, and I'm sitting over here teared up because I'm listening about your story about your friend, and it's like, as I care for my grandmother who resides in another state, and I have all these things in place for her, and it's like, do you need an about me wall on a, something about you so people can care for you at the level that you deserve to be cared for when you were in your right state of mind? My gracious. And the people that you looked after are not there for you when you need them, but you were there for them. That's deep.
You know, the only reason I can say that to you, Miss T, is because I went through it. My circumstance, I could still talk and I could still get out of bed and move around.
Wow.
Okay, I'm healthy. His is a little different. He can't speak.
No.
I literally had to pick my brother up with my two hands and help him stand.
Wow.
I literally helped him clothe himself. I literally helped him relieve himself. I've literally helped him groom his face.
Mm.
I had to tell these people, do you see that picture there with him and his girls? Look at his face. You see the pictures over there with him and all these dignitaries? Look at him.
I hope there's some essential workers, nurses, doctors, and lawyers, whomever listening to this, to say, if you get a job to be a caregiver, to take care of someone, research them, who they are, and their background and their care, what they like, so that you can properly care for them and do your job properly. That's eye opening. Learn, relationship build. Don't go into something just because it may be a job or just because you need a paycheck. Because you're truly, no matter what it is that you do, you're caring for someone, not just yourself, but you're truly, when you go out to eat, you're caring for those customers that come to you.
You're absolutely right. I I had to tell my brother, I said, man, I love you, man. I tell you now, I won't say it on this airways, but his name will always live on because he is also a legend, a legend in the financial service industry.
Wow.
I know that my time is coming. I mean, I understand it, and
Yeah,
I understand that you know, I'm amongst those people, right?
absolutely.
I understand that, but I want someone to be able to tell my story to those people who don't know me. That's just like you're telling my story to your audience right now.
Absolutely.
Is that if I have a high expectation in life, in my final days, my if I can't speak, my expectations are still very high.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's not enough for me to come out and say, well, I'm just going to sell you an insurance policy.
Mm.
That's the job. Let me make sure we're very clear. The job is I'm supposed to take information from the insurance company and give it to you. Take your check and give it to them. That's my job.
Mm-hmm.
Telling you how to use these systems and all those different things, that's something else.
Mm-hmm.
These details that we're dropping for you, that's something else. If you
Absolutely.
got a special advisor that knows how to use concepts and strategies, that person is giving you something else. And they probably should be paid and compensated for what they gave you if they're
Absolutely.
not charging you.
Absolutely.
So if you are a caregiver, give care.
Hmm. Hmm.
What I mean by that is very simple. It's okay for you to be on time, check his vitals, give him milk and cookies, and you did your job.
But did you care?
But would it be nice to care?
Hmm.
If you care about something, you start focusing again on lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So once I explained that to the people that were there, the young lady that just started, she learned an incredible amount, and we became best friends in a very short period of time. But her boss that came, I explained to her boss that my expectation of the boss was higher
Wow.
because this man had been sitting for a longer period of time where facial hair is growing and all this stuff and plots of hair and all this, no, it's obvious that no one has treated him for months.
Wow.
I shouldn't have to, I'm not a professional caregiver, but I shouldn't have to come and move my brother, shave him up, where now he looks like who he looks closer to who he has been.
Wow. When there are
So
people that were getting paid to do those services.
very well.
Very well.
He had the very best
Wow.
insurance of care.
But wasn't getting the care.
No,
Wow. To the level that he deserved in the life that he
not
has
in my
lived
opinion.
and continues to live.
Not in my opinion.
Because you're
Listen, I'm still raw with this, and
absolutely.
but when you call someone your friend, the lady asked me, so who's this guy here? I said, well, man, let me explain to you. I'm one of his closest colleagues. Let me explain to you. I talked to him yesterday on my appointment time. I decided after that, 3 hours later, that I needed to catch a plane from Atlanta, Georgia to Los Angeles, California. I caught a plane at 4 a.m. I
Mm,
was there at 8 a.m.
mm,
I stayed with him until almost 10 p.m. West Coast time.
mm.
I caught the plane back to Atlanta at midnight, which was 3 a.m. In Georgia, and I landed at 7:45 a.m. in Atlanta. What I'm trying to say is I do know what my value is worth.
Wow.
I know what my hourly value is worth. I didn't get paid for that.
Wow.
So since they didn't pay me, I didn't mind telling them how I felt about some things because I knew that that's the kind of care and that's the kind of character and integrity that that person deserves. And the thing is, when you sell promises for a living,
Mm,
you take that personal. When I show up, someone's getting a check. When I show up, I know the difference between a widow with and a widow without.
wow.
When I show up, I'm taking care of the things that scare you at night. If your kid's going to go to college, if your wife is going to be able to sustain herself, if your husband's going to be able to sustain himself, if your business is going to continue to go on. Yes, I'm that guy. So I take it very seriously. You should invest your time and energy in financial professionals that see you that way.
Mm.
And the one thing I want to leave with you, he used to say to me all the time, if I have to ask, you're not the right person.
Woo.
I never knew that at first because it's kind of like an arrogant thing to say, right? If I have to ask, is you're not the right person. And
I
he
love
would
that.
he would he would drop appointments all the time. If I have to ask you, you're not the right person.
Wow.
Here's the thing. I didn't understand that until just yesterday. I just flew in from Los Angeles. I didn't understand what he meant until he couldn't speak.
Mm,
And for your listeners, I'm going to give an example. If there's a piece of paper on your floor and you walk by it, that person who walked by that paper is not the right person. If you have to ask someone to help you
mm.
get to the restroom or get out of bed when you can't walk or can't hurt, you're not the right person.
My God. Mm.
You're not the right person. So when I sit there and watch my friend trying to sleep his way to dying.
Wow. That's deep. That's
And
deep.
I have to come and bring the jumper cables of life and tell him, brother, you're not going to do that. You're the sharpest guy I've ever met. You deserve that. You've helped a lot of people. And it's time for them, including myself, to be there for you because you deserve that. That's my promise. Beyond a caregiver, I'm probably the one person that he didn't expect to show up for that.
Wow.
His kids weren't there. I was there 12 hours. There's no way in the world that someone that close to me is with someone brand new by themselves without being shadowed. That's a lights out moment for me. I wasn't ready for that. And I'm sure that there's other people that's listening to this broadcast that's probably experienced it. And as with tears in my eyes, it hurts me to leave him because I don't know what kind of care he's in at this very moment.
Absolutely. Wow.
But, we can't prepare for everything. But these are just conversations and topics. This is content that is ever evolving. It's always relevant. It doesn't go away because we're talking about humanity.
Absolutely. Care.
And care.
Wow. Well, I can't let you go without you talking about your book, The Eventual Millionaire.
That's not my book, but I was featured. Shout out to Jamie Tardy, but she wrote a wonderful book called The Eventual Millionaire, and she interviews multiple seven-figure people and their businesses, and talked about what is that strand that gets us all up in the morning, and you start to look at how they all think and what makes these people tick. And a vast majority of them started from scratch. Number one, they didn't inherit anything. Number two, their habits. Their habits and the way they think, to really figure out that, you have this mastermind group of people you've never met that you kind of have the same way of thinking.
Mindset. Mm-hmm.
The same mindset, right?
Right.
Can you imagine having a millionaire, a billionaire mindset, but you're around people with $10? The people that have $10 will tell you you're crazy.
Yeah.
But then when you get around people who tend to think like you, that aren't scared to jump, oh my gosh.
Everybody has a parachute.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh man, just put this parachute on.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you don't need a parachute. You're an eagle.
There you go. Fly, soar.
You're an eagle. Stop hanging with chickens.
There you go. Get out the barn.
The difference between an eagle and a chicken is a big difference.
A huge difference. Absolutely. No comparison.
You fly 20,000 feet and you free fall.
Chicken can't get off the ground.
There you go. So what I love for your audience today is, hey, are you an eagle or you're a chicken? If you don't have your financial strategies together, you're probably not an eagle.
Wow.
I invite you to get your stuff together, get your business together, get your brand together. Come fly.
Come to the other side.
Because we all have a start date. We all have an end date.
Wow.
It's what you do in the middle that matters.
What is next for L.R. Johnson and Associates? What is next for Ronco?
You know what? What's next for me is the whole series of When the Lights Go Out, Are You Ready? Because I was a chicken. I'm going to call myself a chicken. I wrote When the Lights Go Out, Are You Ready? A long time ago. But what happens is it turned into the talks, the radio, and all this, and now it's become a series. So we're writing a series, and there's 3 books that haven't been published, and we finally got some information on, and I can't wait till they come out. It's almost when the lights go out. Are you ready? It itself is talking about those lights out moments, and then we talk about what happens when you're at the top of your business and you have some situation that causes you to appear that you failed. Mm. I love that story. It's called Blocking the Noise, about highly successful people who have failed at something or appeared to have failed at something, and then the noise comes from all over the place. And if you start believing the noise, that's like being around the people with $1 and you got a millionaire's mind. It's crazy. But when you start to block the noise, all of a sudden you can come right back to where you were. Wow. And there's evidence of that through many of athletes out there that have somewhat fallen. I love the story about Michael Phelps and his life, and being out of shape and coming back 4 months before the Olympics to say, I want to swim. And he was told that, hey, we already have our team. He jumps in the water without being asked and breaks his own world record. Do you not put that man on your team because he hasn't trained with you for 6 years?
Oh, no, he goes on the team.
He was on that team, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Because he dedicated his life back to doing things the right way. He had an opportunity to go back to the fork in the road with his new baby, his new wife, and he wanted to prove that he could do this thing clean. And when he's clean and he's focused, he's still the best in the world. But he had to block all the noise and all the negative from all the abuse and all the stuff that he had went through before to get to that point.
He didn't ask, he just did.
He just did it. There's many professionals out here that are listening to this podcast or this radio show that have experienced a divorce. And that's not the end of you.
No.
Come back from that. There's somebody out there that's been sued. It's not the end of you. Come back from that. There's been somebody out there that's probably listening that's been in prison. That's not the end of you. Come back from that. These are all lights out moments. That's what this is all about. And lights out moments is not about the gloom and doom. It's about overcoming adversity and how you do it. That's why that title will never get old, because like I said, the content is continuous. So, and I actually, I'm loving that. And if there's some masterminds out there that will be interested in being part of my mastermind group that I want to do, we want to do what is called lifestyle focused travel. And once this stuff slows down a little bit, the goal is to take some masterminds and we want to travel the world, see the world, talk about finance, business, love, relationships, the lifestyle while we're touring.
That's awesome.
Why? Because it's the experiences that you remember the most.
Absolutely.
And you create these experiences. I much rather invest time in experiences than things. And that's what I've learned. And so we're just morphing into this wonderful butterfly the right way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, well, listeners, listen, you guys have gotten a whole seminar, a conference, a class, nuggets, you got life lessons, you got everything. So, Ronco, with that being said, what advice could you impart on those interested in getting into the world or the business of insurance and financial?
Please give me a call. I would love for you to find us and discuss what that looks like. I would encourage you. I mean, we're looking for great advisors and people that are independent insurance agents that need some direction. that have been around and maybe they haven't completely figured it all out. I'm looking for those kind of folks, those lifestyle focused type planners. We are looking for those. And you can contact us at LR Johnson and Associates Incorporated, and that is www.lrj-associates.com, or you can give our office a call at 770-321-1337. And if you just want to get in contact with me, you can find Ronco Johnson, RONCO-JOHNSON, on pretty much all your social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and
you can Google him.
Yeah, what is that? I'm Googleable. I guess that's where we are now. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, I truly am honored, and I'm so happy to just be able to be in your presence again, even though it's by Zoom. But I just thank you for giving your time and energy. I mean, coming off a plane, you hardly had any hours of sleep, if anything at all. So I appreciate you for giving us your time and your energy, because this is huge. This is a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, and these are life nuggets that, I mean, I'm going to have to play over and over and over, because they don't understand, and maybe they do, that when the lights go out, you must be ready. So,
well, Ms. T, I'm going to tell you, it is an honor. It is a privilege to have you as my sister. And, God knows I've missed you. I am so excited that you're back on the airwaves or via the internet. The world, you're blessing the world with the content that they need to hear, and you're giving a platform for people like myself to be able to inspire and encourage others that there's hope out there. And I hope that we are able to do this again.
Absolutely.
And who knows? I mean, that's a lot that we have to talk about. And I look forward to the days that we're able to do it more and more, okay?
Absolutely. Well, I love you, my brother, and I thank you for your time and energy, your knowledge, and your professionalism, and just your care. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hindsighters, thank you for tuning in tonight to Keeping It Real with Miss T, where we give you the real tea with the twist. You have definitely had a treat for tonight. October is here. Welcome to the fall season. You have gotten something wonderful. So please visit our website at www.hindsightmediaradio.com, on the Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM platform, where there's always something good to talk about. Again, Ronco, I thank you, and good night.
Thank you so much. God bless. Peace.
Good night.